This is unbelievable. This is like one of these things where you just thank God for luck, really. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of a story here, a bit of a family history thing, and unreal, really. So my grandfather's brother, my great uncle William, was in World War One, and he was out in Gallipoli, fought out there with the Gloucestershire Regiment. Luckily, he was one of the one of the few that came back from that. Came back and lived on the farm, and then got married and went to Birmingham, and died in 1970. Okay, and I never met the chap, but I heard lots of stories about him, and we've got quite a few photographs and things. Anyway, it turns out that after World War One, he was awarded 3 medals. 3 medals. Okay. Now, when he died in 1970, those 3 medals just were auctioned off with all the contents of his house. He never had any children, and they just disappeared, and I wasn't really aware of them. Okay, so, but we had bits and pieces of what he had from World War One still at the farm. We had some photographs of him out in the desert with machine gun and horses, and got a Gloucestershire cap badge and a few buttons and bits and pieces. So I was kind of well aware of what he did. Anyway, let's go back now in time. For me, about 8 years ago, I think, when my dad was alive, about 8 years ago, I put my surname Cornock into Google. Okay, eBay. Every now and then I do that because it's an unusual surname, and sometimes you just think, well, something might pop up interesting related to it. And flipping heck, one of his medals popped up. So bear in mind he had 3. One of them popped up, and I knew it was his because it had his name engraved around the edge of the medal. Because in World War One, they actually put the name and the service number and the regiment he was in on the medals. They didn't do that in World War Two, just World War One. So I bought his medal back for 40 quid. And to be honest, I was unbelievably overwhelmed to get that back, because I thought the chances of me getting his medal back were virtually 0. So I got that back off this chap, I think it's Staffordshire or something like that. Got it through the post, and it was at the time actually the anniversary of Gallipoli, and I have a few contacts, as you know. I used to do stuff with Radio Bristol and bit for Points West, and they were interested in the story, and they ran the story, and they also ran the story in the Birmingham Post, which is a newspaper from where he lived. And during that, when I was interviewed by the chap, I actually said, you know, if anyone's got the other 2 medals, contact me, and here's my number. Okay, so that was 8 years ago. Well, flipping heck, do you know what? Last night, I got a phone call from someone saying they got another one of the medals. If I can find the answer phone message, I'll give it to you. I was lying in bed, or not lying in bed, I was having a little read on the bed.
This is a message from Mr. Cornock. My name is Sarah Turner.
Can you hear this?
Can you call me back, please? I think I might have found one of your family's war medals. It's 07890.
That person left me an answer phone message saying they found one of the other missing medals. And this morning, I spoke to her on the phone. She sent me some photographs. This morning, she's driving down from Leominster, is it? She's driving down with her husband to bring me the other missing medal. I can't believe it. I'll just show you this. I'll just show you this video. This is the news report from Points West back I think it's 8 years ago, and it's nice because it's got a little bit of my dad on it, which is quite a thing, because he didn't like being on camera, but he did go on camera about this. So have a look at this, and then I'll be back.
Preparations are underway in Turkey for this weekend's ceremony to honour the thousands of people who were killed in the Gallipoli campaign 100 years ago. Members of the royal family will be at the commemoration, as well as descendants of those who fought or who are already arriving, as you can see. It was a long and bitter campaign which touched the lives of many in the West.
For the family of one young Gloucestershire soldier, a chance discovery has made this weekend's anniversary even more poignant. Here's our Gloucestershire reporter, Steve Nibbs.
William Cornock was affectionately known as Lurker and well known in the village A century ago, he served for the Royal Gloucestershire Hussars at Gallipoli. It was an unrelenting and horrific chapter in the regiment's history.
When they went over there were 537 members of the RGH. By the October, when the battle finally ended, there were 95 left. And it wasn't just the war that killed them, it was disease. Disease was rife throughout the Gallipoli Peninsula.
Private Cornock knew he was lucky to have survived, but would rarely talk of his experiences.
He said the casualties were terrible. So unbelievable the conditions they were in. And when he came back, his mother said, "Who's this stranger coming back?" She didn't recognise him because he was so sun-tanned in the desert, but having to cope with the extreme heat.
After the war, William moved to Birmingham, and much of his estate was sold off when he died. The only thing left from his army days, this pouch for his New Testament. That was until his great-nephew searched for the family name on eBay.
And lo and behold, this medal pops up from the Gloucester Yeomanry. But then when I went into the description, it said belonged to William L. Cornock, and that was my great uncle. And I thought, hang on a minute, this can't be true, because it's almost too good to be true, really, isn't it?
But it was. The medal has William Cornock's name, regiment and service number engraved on the side. After going missing for over 40 years, an incredible twist of fate has brought it back home.
This medal arrived in the post, and the postman walked down the steps that my great uncle walked down when he came back from World War II to the same house. And this medal's come back to the place he was born and grown up. This medal's been missing for 45 years. It's been floating around. I don't know where it's been in that time. And what are the chances of getting it back? I think quite low.
With 6 million of these medals made and many melted down for scrap, it is incredible that it's now back in the family, and an emotional reminder for William Cornock's descendants of the experience he faced on the front line a century ago. Steve Nibbs, BBC Points West, Titherington.
It really is incredible, isn't it?
So that was me finding the first medal, and you see I stumbled my words. I said World War II at the end. That's always my way. I always a bit of spoonerism there. Honestly thought I'd never see the other two medals again. You know, it's a needle in a haystack. There's one thing, they might be out there, they might not be, you see, because the thing is, ultimately some of these things got scrapped because they didn't have the value and emotional attachment to that they do maybe now. I think the reason why they didn't stay in the family is that people were like, so what? Don't want to remember the war, we want to move on. And once they're out of the family, really, what emotional attachment have they got to anyone? They're just a medal with some random stranger's name on it. And I think the one that I found on eBay, I was lucky to have that one because that's silver, solid silver. And, you know, I think some of them probably ended up getting melted down. So the chances of the other two being around and coming back to me are pretty slim, really. But you know, the advantage of the world now we live in is that when you do stuff, it tends to stay there. So that article from 8 years ago has been on Google, sat there, and luckily her husband, I think, just went, I wonder who this William Cornock is, and he Googled it. I had a brief chat with her. She said that it was in a box of bits from her dad, who died in 2019, and I think he was a jeweller, and maybe he bought them, I don't know why, but God, if I get this back, I'm going to show you. So basically, I still, do you know what? When the phone went, I thought, you know, this is fraud. Maybe it's someone trying to rip me off, trying to sell me something that isn't the right thing. You know, because there's a few scammers and stuff out there. But when I spoke to her, she seemed really nice and really genuine. When this comes down, I'll only really believe it's here when it's here. And if she's willing to speak on camera, I will ask her for a little video. But I don't want to, you know, it's not about that really, because obviously this is about quite a big thing. To get the second medal back from a set of 3, I think getting 1 back was a miracle. Getting 2 back is unbelievable. Whether I'll ever see the 3rd one, if someone's out there watching and they've got a William Cornock First World War medal with the service number around the outside, please get in touch. No chance. Right, I'll just show you. I'll show you what I've got when I've got it. All right. Anyway, let's crack on. What a day! What a day for family life and family history. Medal coming back to the farmhouse where that guy went to war in 1914 and came back in 1918. That is coming back to that medal is coming back to where it was when he first got them in probably 1919. So over 100 years ago, that medal was in that farmhouse, and it's been out of the family for 53 years, and it's coming back. That's unreal. Right, so as I mentioned to you about the medal, I've got the lady here who found it, and it is amazing. I'm going to just turn this camera on you, Sarah. Right, Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
This is a miracle, right?
It absolutely is.
Tell me the story of how you found it, because it's incredible.
Okay, so my father passed away in 2019, Anthony Campbell. He was a jeweller, and we took all of his bits and put them in boxes, split between myself and my sister Jenna, and my husband Pete.
Hi, Pete.
He doesn't really want to be on camera, but never mind. Was searching through the cellar because we needed to clear out. So when we were clearing out the cellar, we came across this box of all my late father's jewellery bits, and in there was
that?
this.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it's a star or something. And on the back is my great uncle's name and I think this must be his number, isn't it?
Badge number?
Badge number and Gloucestershire Yeomanry.
Yeah. So my husband became inquisitive to find out who was Mr. W.L. Cornock.
Yes.
So we Googled.
Unbelievable.
And we found your newspaper article, and on there was your phone number. So we called you.
That's unreal.
And now we're here.
That's
giving
unreal.
It back to you.
I am.
So here you go, Mr. Cornock. This is for you, lovely.
Well enough again. Right. I'm going to turn this off. I have had a few tears already, actually. You know what I'm like.
Yeah.
She knows what I'm like now. But a bit of history back here. We are stood on the spot where he walked out of to go to war. Right.
That's lovely.
Right, so here I am now back in the kitchen with my little collection of stuff with William Levi Cornock, and that lady was absolutely lovely. She was really, really nice. An incredible story to think she found that in a box of stuff. And they drove an hour and a half to come here from Leominster. An hour and a half to come down to bring that to me. I didn't want any money for it or anything. The generosity of people is amazing. So I thought I'd show you. Here's the original medal, the one I found on eBay. This is the one that the lady just brought me. There it is. And so what happened is, actually, after I found the first one, I found his war record, William Cornock, there, and it tells you the ones that are missing. Victory medal, and I haven't got a British medal, and the star. So actually, because I didn't have them, I actually bought some replicas, and here's the replica one there, the star medal replica and I got it engraved with what I thought would have been on the back, and that is the one that's missing now. That is the one. I'm not sure what that one's called. That might be the war medal. That's the replica as well. And I'll just turn it around for you to see. You can see here, this is the original one, and this is the replica. Look, it's not a bad replica, but you can see some subtle differences. That one there is sort of more arched on there. This is flatter, and there's a bit more definition in the crown there, I think, than that one. And these points are a little bit bigger, I think, than on here. There's certainly a difference, and I mean, if you look on the back, there's no contest. Look at that. It's a very different sort of metal. You can see there. Well, thank goodness people are so kind and will actually bother taking the time to go and see people and do stuff. So my bit of family history is coming back together. I've got a collection here of his photographs and all these stories about him. All I need to do now is find that third medal. Can I do it? Can you help? Can you find a medal like that? If you see a medal like that with William Levi Cornock, Gloucestershire Yeomanry on the back. It's actually not on the back, it's around the edge of the medal on here. Well, if you find that, let me know. Anyway, what a day. Crack on.